There are hotels hidden along forgotten roads, places tucked just out of sight, too quiet, too still. The kind you only notice when your gas light's blinking, when your GPS loses signal, or when it's already too late to turn around. Dusty neon signs flicker to life at the edge of your vision. Vacancy. Always vacancy. Most people pass them by without a second glance, but some don't. And some of those people are never seen again. Tonight's story is about one of those places. A roadside motel where the staff never age, the rooms never change, and the guests, they never really leave. Welcome to Whispers After Dark, where shadows speak and the night listens. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to help our channel grow. Now let's get on with our story. There's a stretch of forgotten road that curves through scrub and dust left behind when the new highway came through. Most don't even realize they've passed it. But every so often, someone does. And when they do, they find the Driftwood Motel. A single-story L-shaped building with a faded neon sign that still buzzes weekly after dark. It wasn't on any GPS, not anymore. But people still manage to check in. They just don't check out. Detective Paul Rayner was sent out after a college student named Logan Harris vanished during a road trip. Last ping from his phone came from that stretch of highway, nowhere really. But a receipt in his email showed a one-night reservation at a place called Driftwood. The department had never heard of it. Paul found it just before sunset. The motel sat like a relic from another era. Sun-faded siding, cracked pavement, and a front office with a bell that jingled when you pushed the door open. Inside was clean, oddly so. A couple sat behind the counter. An older man in a pale yellow cardigan and a soft-spoken woman with tightly curled gray hair and a pink sweater that looked handmade. Their names were Marvin and Helen. "Terrible thing, officer," Marvin had said, voice like syrup. "But he checked out just fine, early even. Must have been in a rush." Helen nodded along, hands folded. He looked tired, but polite. I packed him a muffin for the road. Paul looked around the office. Neat shelves, logbooks, little bowl of mints. The air smelled like lemon cleaner and something faintly sweet beneath it. Artificial. Wrong. He asked to see the guest book. Sure enough, Logan's name was there, in handwriting that didn't match the samples from his car back at the impound lot. Paul smiled politely, but alarm bells were going off in his head. He asked to see the room. They gave him the key. Room 209. It was spotless, almost sterile, like trouble had been taken to clean it down to the corners and baseboards. Paul chalked it up to the habits of an older couple who liked things just so. The bed was made tight, TV unplugged, nothing left behind, nothing obviously wrong. Except for one thing. Under the lip of the sink in the bathroom, someone had scratched a single word into the porcelain. Jagged, frantic strokes that cut through the glaze. Still here. The hair on the back of his neck prickled. Something felt off, like he was being watched. He looked up at the mirror, and for just a second, a different face stared back, mouth open, eyes pleading. He blinked. It was gone. The bathroom door was still closed. He turned, checked the room. He was rifling through the dresser drawers when the door opened behind him, and Marvin's voice floated in, chipper and warm. "Would you like something to drink?" Paul managed to smile. "That would be nice, thanks." Once Marvin stepped away, Paul moved quickly, installed a hidden camera inside the smoke detector, snapped photos of the sink, the room, the closet, fast, quiet. He was zipping up his case when Marvin returned with a can of soda and a napkin. Paul thanked him, polite as ever. He stepped out, nodding goodbye to both Marvin and Helen. Said he'd be in touch. They waved him off from the office window, smiling like he just stopped in for coffee. 2 weeks later, another call came in. A young couple had gone missing. Last phone activity pinged in the same nowhere stretch of road. Same coordinates, same silence. Paul didn't even hesitate. He drove back out, same curve, same gravel crunch beneath the tires. But this time, the neon sign was dark, not burned out, gone. just rusted metal scaffolding and twisted wire where it used to buzz. The Driftwood Motel was still there. Same structure, same L-shaped skeleton, but the lot was cracked and overgrown, split by weeds. The office door hung open at an angle, swinging faintly in the wind. Paul stepped inside. The air hit him like a wall, thick with mildew, rot, and time. Cobwebs coated the counter, draped like curtains across the rusted bell. The guest log was missing. The mints in the bowl were melted into a congealed lump. Faded wallpaper peeled in strips down the hallway. The motel hadn't been cleaned in years. It hadn't even been opened. But he knew he'd been here just days ago. He'd spoken to people. He'd shaken their hands. He walked the hallway to room 209. The door creaked open slowly. Inside, the room was in ruin. Stained carpet, slumped mattress, broken light fixture. A cracked mirror above the dresser had warped with age. On the floor near the bed was a faint dark smear, too faded to identify, too wrong to ignore. No power, no sound. Just the quiet weight of dust and something that felt like memory. But the smoke detector was still in place, and the camera was still there. Paul didn't touch anything else. He took the card and left. Back at the station, in the dead quiet of his office, he watched the footage. Most of it was still, just hours of grainy silence. Then at 3:12 a.m., something changed. The door to room 209 opened. A man and woman stepped inside, confused. The man flipped the light switch, but nothing happened. The woman stood near the bed, arms crossed, anxious. They spoke, but the audio didn't carry. The man tried the door again, locked. Then they both looked toward the far side of the room, toward the mirror, and froze. Their expressions drained. Their bodies slackened. Behind them, in the mirror's reflection, two more figures stood in the doorway. Faint, pale, familiar. Marvin and Helen, but wrong. They weren't moving. Just there, watching, faded but smiling. Their clothes unchanged. Their eyes clouded and distant, like an old photo left too long in the sun. Then the girl turned to scream. The image flickered, and the screen cut to static. Paul sat motionless in his chair for a long time. Later, he pulled the property records, cross-referenced death certificates, found the fire-damaged file. Marvin and Helen Proctor, owners of the Driftwood Motel. They died in 1963, carbon monoxide poisoning. According to the original police report, the couple had come under quiet investigation after a series of unexplained disappearances linked to their motel. Guests checked in, but there were no checkouts, only names in the logbook, followed by silence. Before detectives could act, the Proctors were found dead in their own room. Official cause, accidental carbon monoxide leak. Case closed. But the disappearances didn't stop. They slowed, became rare, sporadic. Not enough to raise alarms, not enough to keep eyes on the place. Just a lingering curse on a forgotten road. Until now. Paul never filed a report, never showed the footage. Who would believe him that the disappearances were linked to ghostly serial killers? But some nights, when the silence presses in, he opens that final frame and stares at the still image. Room 209. Dusty, dark, empty, but not. And in the warped surface of the mirror, just behind the bed, two faint shapes are still standing, smiling, waiting for the right time to turn their vacancy sign back on. If you're ever on a back road and spot a quiet motel that seems too clean, too still, keep driving, don't stop. And whatever you do, don't check in, because once you see them smiling in the mirror, you've already been added to the guest log. Thanks for listening to Whispers After Dark. Stay cautious, stay curious, and beware of the whispers after dark.